Good morning and welcome to my podcast. My name is Bob Pace. I'm your host, and here we are to fight CPS with me and get our children back. Now, I want to welcome to all my listeners and people that participate. You found me on Facebook, and you probably have a CPS case that you're lost. It's one of the worst nightmares you could ever have. You're dealing with the agency, the Children Protection System. It's very corrupt, deceptive, not transparent, not your friend. I'm going to try to help you because I care about you as a person. I know you're struggling. A lot of you out there may not have the money or the resources. I've been there. I know that. Now, I do want to talk about how this podcast, you can interact with this podcast. One of the things you can do with this podcast is you can text in a comment to me. Something about CPS, a question you have, or something you want to share with the group here, or something that worked out good for you. And besides your name, I like to also know the city and state you're from. I also know many of you are from other countries because this is worldwide. Because I've had people from Australia, the United Kingdom, Ghana, Mexico, and Mozambique send me comments. The guy from Mexico even was a guest on my show talking about his girls in Louisiana that he wanted to get back. So feel free to go ahead and send me a comment or a question. I'll try to help you out. Another way to interact is to be on my show as a guest. Now, right now, I have no guests scheduled, so it's open for you to call in at 626-698-0990. That's 626-698-0990. That's my office number, and you reach my phone, and I'll take the calls. Now, I only take the calls between the hours of 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. on Pacific Standard Time for my morning show, my evening show from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And when you call in, I'll put you live on the speakerphone. You don't have to worry about your picture will not be shown. There'll be no cam associated with it. So just call in. Now, if you don't want to talk right now and you want to talk at a later date to be a guest on my show, I'd love to have you. I'm on 7 days a week, twice a day. That's 14 podcasts that you can pick from, a morning show or an afternoon show. Morning show or an afternoon show. All you need to do is write my producer, Grace, at vincentwdavis.com. Grace at vincentwdavis.com. Now, good morning, Sydney Rodriguez. That's a good question, Sydney. I don't know what city or state would help me a little bit so I can address your situation. What happens if they've been adopted? Well, if you gave away your parental rights and your medical and educational rights, they've been adopted. You're in Fresno, California. Okay. It's going to be hard to get your child back because you've given up the rights. Now, if there's something illegally done about that or something wrong about that, there's a possibility to get your child back. I need to know more what happened to you up there in Fresno, California. I know a lot about California and the CPS that takes children and how they deceive parents and maybe tricked you into signing something. How long ago were they adopted? Oh, they didn't keep them together. So 6 of them were adopted. Wow. And why were the children taken from you? Why were the children taken from you? Hmm. You don't know. I mean, there was some allegations, right? And you went to court. Good morning, Happy Feet. Okay, Happy Feet is in Arkansas. And you say the IC, the Indian Child Welfare Act standards are not being followed. What can you do? Well, first you may need to contact your Indian tribe. Yeah. Um, you have to contact your Indian tribe and see if you're registered as a Native American Indian or could be registered. You also need to request that from the social worker too. Now, if you, Sydney, if you were alleged that you're drunk, um, that would be a charge of neglect because you have to be your full conscience in there. But there's a procedure you go through. They just don't arbitrarily take children and adopt them right away. Did you have a public attorney or a real attorney there, Sydney? What you need to do is what tribe um, are you of? Happy Feet 7? Because CPS must inform the tribes. If you have 3 or 4 tribes, you can give them the addresses. They must reach out to them and see if you're registered and if the tribe is a federal recognized Indian tribe, recognized by the federal government. Now, down there in Arizona, are you Apache, Comanche, Navajo? Um, a social worker was in the news for child molestation. Um, I'm really confused, Sydney. If you'd like to call in and talk about it on the show, I welcome you. It's 626-698-0990. And Happy Feet, I'd like to help you with your ICWA. Well, Sydney, I'm lost because I get bits and pieces. I can only imagine what you're going through. It's very frustrating. Sometimes if you talk about it on my show, you can get it out and I can ask you questions to help you go through it. Um, okay, so Happy Feet, your mother is a registered Choctaw tribe member. I've submitted my application for membership. Our last court hearing, the judge and ordered CPS to complete the member, and they refused. No, they need to complete it. You need to go up to a supervisor. You need to complain about that. It's their responsibility. Yeah, give me a call, Sydney, and I can try to help you walk you through your case. We'll have to start from the beginning, but call 626-698-0990. My phone is standing by, Sydney. All right. Well, if that's supervisor, then you're going to have to take it to the director of I think it's called DCS, isn't it not? Department of Child Services is what it's called. Your CPS in Arizona. Well, the judge is not in charge of the social worker. That's what's sad. The judge only makes decisions or help you when you're in court. The judge does not run the social services. So you need to go to the director of DCS. If you've gone to a supervisor, they refuse, go to the director. Also, you need to contact the tribe, and they will contact CPS. You need to contact your tribe, the Choctaw. Contact that tribe, and they will help you. They know about it. It's just call them and say, I'm having trouble with the ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act, being enforced. CPS must contact and see if they're registered or if they could be registered, even if they're not registered. So, as I talked this morning, we have two people in the room, Sydney and Happy. Happy has an ICWA problem, the Indian Child Welfare Act. Sydney is having some help, and they're not listening to her about her case. Okay, if the tribe confirm, you need to ask the tribe to contact CPS and make arrangements to take your children and put them with an Indian family. That's what you need to do, Happy. You need to have the tribe contact CPS and request the child be turned into their hands, that they are registered. The tribe will help you. The tribe will help you. Sydney, I'm standing by if you want to call it 626 698 0990. Oh, so your children are with your mother. Okay, and they're safe there. All right. Well, that's good, but you still need to contact the tribe and have them contact so that CPS stops hounding you, and the tribe will solve the problem. The tribe will solve the problem. Now, Sydney, you have 6 children that have taken from you, and they allege that when you're picking them up, and it sounds like you've been alleged um, that you were a drunk when you picked up the kids. Also, you say a social worker is in the court with child molestation. You need to get a new social worker. You need to get a new social worker. I want to give many thanks to the law firm that produces this podcast, Vincent W. Davis Associates, and to Mr. Davis himself, I thank you. He wants you to call him 888-888-6582 if you have any questions. So you can speak to Mr. Davis. He is a family law attorney and has many years' experience with CPS. So I'm glad, happy that your kids are safe with your mother, but you still need to get the ICWA to officially have taken your children, and they're fine. They can stay at your mother's, but let the Indian tribe help you solve your problem, whatever your allegation. What are your allegations, Happy Feet? What are your allegations? Now, Cindy, you have 6 children, And I think you said that they're adopted now, and they took away your parental rights and your education rights. That's wrong if they didn't give you notice. CPS is really tough. And my number one rule is you need to get an attorney. And you're probably wondering, why attorney? Well, CPS is crooked. They take children and they traffic children into foster care. It's all a money thing. And they're a $38 billion business a year. They make money off the children. That's how much the federal government gives them. In some of the neighborhood of $20,000 per child per month that the federal government is giving CPS. And they don't use it all for taking care of the child. They use it themselves. They're crooked with the money, and it's sad. It really is sad. Okay, Happy Feet said you're charged with neglect, and what are the details? Neglect because we're living at a resort while we sold our home and had a new one being built. He said we are technically homeless, and that's neglect. No, homeless is not neglect. They're using that loosely. If you're at a resort and your home is being rebuilt, remodeled, or something like that, you have a home, you're not neglect. They are really taking it too far. You need to make sure those children stay with your mother and get in the Indian tribe there, because it sounds like the DCS there in Arizona is very, very, very bad. CPS across the country, the child protection system, is really bad. It's been really fractured. They're against parents, against elderly people, against senior people, and they want to do nothing but alienate you from your children. They do alienation, which is illegal, and they do child trafficking, which is also illegal. There's no law that you violated by living in a resort while you sold your home. If you're paying for a resort and you have a roof and a room for the kids and food, that's all it's required. It's not neglect. Homeless is not neglect. The CPS workers are just buffaloing you. They're buffaloing you. So, as mentioned about why you need a professional attorney, the court appointed attorney that is provided to you because you can't afford a real professional attorney, it's going to be a loss of time, and they're not going to defend your case. They're overworked. They're very new lawyers. I don't really think they're in the field of family law. And they probably have 20 or more cases they're handling at one time. So you got to stay away from the family law attorneys. I thought that was a call, but it wasn't. Not the call on my work phone. Oh boy. Um, well, you must have some background. They checked on your background and they're trying to take advantage of you. I don't know if you're a low income or what the situation is. But living in a resort with your family is nothing wrong. If you're getting your new home redone or whatever you're doing to it, that's nothing wrong because you know what I mean? As a parent, you're not neglect if you provide them food, clothing, shelter. I mean, and supervision. Um, are you taking them to school? Are they in school right now? Okay, you're in a private school. Sounds like you have a very corrupt DCS bunch of social workers. Make sure they stay with your mother, though. Don't let CPS. I mean, they cannot take your children from your home unless they have a court order. It's got to be a legitimate court order, too. But dealing with CPS is like dealing with open heart surgery. You need a professional lawyer to deal with them who knows the laws and knows how to fight CPS and get your children back. Without an attorney, you're really lost. And I'm really sad to say that. I tried for a year and a half, and I'm a pretty creative mind, and I'm a pretty good talker and write some really important letters, but I got nowhere with the director or any of the supervisors in the social services in Southern California. It was a waste of time. It go in one ear and go out the ear. The more I fought, the more they were hard on me. I see you passed all their tests. They said we had no you have to have cheated on both. I don't know what you mean by that. What do you mean cheated? Um, if you want to call in, Happy Feet, love to hear from you. 626-698-0990. Or anybody else. The phone line is open. And I love to have people talk about their case. It's easier too because sometimes it's hard to bit and piece and check to see um, what I can do to help you because I don't know the whole story. You do. In this last comment, you cheated on both. I don't know what you mean by you cheated on both. Mean you cheated the psychological evaluation? You cheated the drug evaluation? Oh, the social workers, said we had cheated on both the tests. I'm heading to meet with my caseworker in just a few minutes. Well, let me tell you about something about talking to caseworkers. It should be simple yes no answers. Be polite and professional, but don't talk because the more you talk, the more they use you against you. It's yes no answers. And be forewarned. As I tell people, unless you have an attorney, don't talk to social workers because they'll twist things around and use it against you. As I was telling you, you need to hire an attorney because it's the same thing as open heart surgery. You need someone that's professional, knows how to get into the system and knows what right doors. I mean, dealing with CPS is like Alice in Wonderland falling down the rabbit hole and so many doors that go nowhere. They're not your friend. They're not your friend. You need an attorney because could you yourself do open heart surgery? Could a layman do open heart surgery? You don't know the laws and stuff. You need to be really the key to success in fighting CPS is knowledge. The more you know, the better off you are. And that requires you hours and hours and days, weeks, months of researching the internet, looking at the Welfare Institution Code, look at the charges against you, look at how the case works in Arizona, look at all kinds of things that will come up. And besides that, you need someone that can navigate and knows how to beat CPS and how to get back your children. Those are all important. They're all important. Happy feet. You know, it's hard getting an attorney anywhere you're at in the country. There are attorneys that are good attorneys that do pro bono. What I suggest is you go to the internet and you search for family law attorneys. You put in the city you're currently in. I don't know what city in Arizona. And then you put the next biggest city next to, as the second. So you say, looking for family law attorneys, and you put your city first, then the city, the big city, like Tucson is a big city. I don't know how far Tucson is from you. But you go in there and you get a list of at least 10 names. And with those 10, you try to pick a strong 5 that you're going to call. And we look at their background and stuff, see if they mention anything about CPS, others like that. Now, I have an attorney here at Vincent W. Davis. His name is Vincent W. Davis, at Vincent W. Davis Associates. He's a professional family law attorney with trial experience, and he has also fought CPS and gotten children back. So he has a proven track record. He will go to Arizona. He's in Southern California. But right now, he's offering a consultation for 30 minutes for $60. There's a ticket running across my screen. It said consultations with attorney Vince Davis, care of Bob Pace. You want to go to the calendar.com and the law offices of Vincent W. Davis and schedule a time with them. Schedule a time with them. And for 30 minutes, he'll talk to you about the strategies of how to get your kids back and how to fight CPS. It'd be worth every bit of the money. Well, I'd love to see a picture of that. You say in Arizona they're professional kidnappers on their shirts? That's terrible. That's a new one for me. I never heard of them admitting that they're professional kidnappers because they are. They traffic children quite well. They alienate children and they hurt children in foster care. Wow, I'd love to see that. I'll look for that. I'll look for that. Anyway, so you need to get this attorney, and as I say, Vincent Davis will talk to you for 30 minutes for $60, and he'll talk about the strategies of how to beat CPS and how to get your children back. But you need to call those 5 attorneys, including Mr. Davis, and see which one you feel comfortable with and which one will, fight for you. And also your budget too, because retainers could be anywhere 5, 10, 15, 20, $25,000. It's a lot of money. I had to sell my home, get money to fight my attorney. And he got my boys back, but I lost my girl. And that was a year and a half of me doing nothing at the time because I didn't know. What I know now, I wish I knew at the beginning, 14 years ago. They've been harassing me for 5 years. Then they trafficked my children, my 3 of them, in 2015, and then my 2 sons returned in 2017. But my daughter was forced to change her name, forced to seal a birth certificate, and forced to be adopted. Because at 12, you wouldn't do that. She was led to believe that's the thing to do. But as I say, getting this attorney is going to be the biggest thing that you can. Just think of it. Open heart surgery, you're going to have an open heart surgery professional operate on you. You're not going to let a layperson do that. So far this morning, we have 2 CPS cases. One was 6 children were removed and supposedly they've been adopted already. I don't know how old the case is. But she hasn't come on the show yet, but I hope she still does. Then there's the other one, Happy Feet, who is a Native American Indian that's trying to get her children to be with a Native American family because they'll take care of their own. Um, so when you call in, make sure you tell them that Bob Pace sent you when you call in to ask for Mr. Davis. And when you talk to Mr. Davis, you want to say that Bob Pace sent you. And remember, it's 888-888-6582. Now, I'm a half an hour into the show. I still have about a half an hour left. Again, you can interact with the show by doing the comments. We have 2 people ask me questions and so forth. We have the call in at 626-698-0990 that you can call in and be a guest on the show right now and talk about your case. Maybe help others and help yourself. So I've just talked about rule number 1, which is hire an attorney, and now that's really hard to do. But you got to get resources from family and friends or from a credit line or in your home if you own a home. Yeah, I may have to sell some things to come up with the money. Okay, I'd like to move on to rule number 2. And that's the notebook, and that's very important. Every time there's an incident that you're involved in, you should write it down. You want to write down the date and the time and who is involved. Then the next line, you want to put down what the incident was. It may take you 2 or 3 lines to describe it. Then after that, you want to put the outcome. What happened to it was resolved. Your answer may be weeks or months or years away. But this notebook would be very important for you to have because you'll be able to remember what went on and so forth. And then after you write down what the incident was, you want to put down the outcome. Now, you may not know the outcome right away. It may take months or years. But when you do, you can fill it in. When you do, you can fill it in. But this notebook will be a very important, useful tool in your case and keep you on track and keep you focused. Now, I briefly talked about rule number 3, which was don't let CPS in your home. Don't let them take your children. And say yes, no answers, but be courtesy to them. No need to talk to them and tell them your life story. That was a mistake I had done, and she shouldn't do it either. So, when a social worker comes knocking, don't answer the door. If they're outside and you run into them, be professional. Ask for the business card because they lie about their names. Also, you need to inform them that you can't talk to them until you talk to your attorney first, that you will have representation. Um, so a policeman, the same thing. You say you be professional to them, but say yes or no answers. Yes or no answers. Because they will use what you say against you. They're all fishermen. They're all working for CPS. They work together. And they're very intimidating when they wear their combat boots and their, protective gear and stuff. And so it is hard. Now, I know CPS is a hard thing or bad thing, and there are children that need protection from abuse and neglect. But there's something called family reunification. We got to get the families together. Studies have shown that the best parents are the biological parents for children. Now, another thing that happens is they want to take your children, even if they're not in imminent danger. They feel every case is imminent danger. In my case, they thought my children were in imminent danger. They're in school, and they took them out of their school. They placed them in a foster care shelter, which is a concrete bunker kind of building. Their play yard was right next to the juvenile play yard. There was no protection there. And in fact, they had bees swarming from bee nests that stung the children. So my children' worst nightmares just getting started was, of course, they paint the parents as the bad guys and that they'll do everything to get everybody back together. But unless they have a court order or there's a crime in progress, they can't come into your home and take your children. They have something called a warrant, and a warrant. Okay, Happy Feet, thank you. And thank you to Sydney. I will pray for you, Happy Feet. I would want your children safe. So, and please work on that getting the tribe to help you, the Chakwas, to help you. Now they're going to use the excuse that the children are in extreme need. They did it with me. My case was really weird. Now that I look back on it, I had a hiccup at age 60 where I lost my job through no fault of my own. At the same time, a perfect storm was brewing. I had a predator loan, meaning my loan was uh, overinflated to qualify. They ruined the documents. And suddenly, I was hard to make the mortgage payments. And then my mom and dad were dying, and I had all their belongings, and that's what CPS did. At first, it was the lay people, my wife's family, my in-laws, and her sister stuff started reporting facts that are not true to undermine us, our group home, so that they can be better off, but they're not. They were shockers. I mean, here they are, a 9-year-old, a 12-year-old, and a 15-year-old being carted off in a car, not knowing what's happening to their parents, the worst nightmare. And it's a sad thing. But they got me for neglect because why? I had taken my parents' belongings, they'd requested me to, and I was sorting and disseminating them out to family and relatives and friends. Well, I still to this date have not heard an explanation of why they did what they did to me. Um, I don't know what happened to Sydney, but she stopped for a while. I hope you're all right, Sydney. I care about you and Happy Feet and all my other listeners. You will get your kids back. Now, trying to, keep your children, they have to have a court order. The court order is like a warrant. It can say on there what they're supposed to do, who they're supposed to meet, who they're supposed to take, what the rationale is or the allegations, and they're supposed to protect them in transport and so forth. So when you say no, you be sincere about it. They have to have a court order to take your child. There's another thing called medical trafficking, which is a really bad thing. It's on the rise. It's where a child is feeling sick or needs help, and parents take them to emergency, and then a caseworker has to be working there and interferes and wants to take possession of that child. They will lie, they'll deceive. It's really sad what they do. So those three laws: get an attorney, starting a notebook if you haven't already done so, and getting another attorney. So I'm telling you, with the medical part, a mother will be in there in the birthing room, and a CPS a worker will walk in with a police and demand the baby. They'd have no room in a birthing room. They have no room to be in your room. You can have them excused by the hospital staff. There's no law that says they can march in and take your child. And they do so because they want that money. They do so because they want that money. I'm looking for more comments from people that like to talk. I had Sydney in here that was going to come on, Sydney Rodriguez, but I haven't heard from her since. Of course, Happy Feet topped in a lot of comments, and she'll be back later tomorrow, she said. So do not give up your children. They got to have a court order. You give them permission when they won't divide. I guess when you give permission, then it kind of defeats the purpose, because then they will sit there and try to find something additive to the CPS case. So we've had some interesting people this morning. I really appreciate that. I have about 15 minutes left of the show. I think I need to talk about some of our topics here that is saved. I'd like to talk about a 388 motion. Now, in a lot of states, it's not 388, but what it is, it's a motion you can make about modifications of your juvenile court judgments and orders. What I'm basically saying, it's a way to modify or change the current court orders or even have them dropped. All you have to do is file a motion for a change of circumstances or new evidence. Once it's filed, the judge must meet with you in 30 days. And then you and your attorney can present your arguments, all the drug classes you completed, the programs you completed. You need to have a lot of data from the social page that you found the information on. It's tough. It really is. I feel for everyone. But this motion is something you can bring up and I'll have a hearing within 30 days. And there you can request that, okay, I've been drug free for a year. Here are my results and so forth. Now, again, if you're using a public defender, he doesn't want to do that work. See, that's the problem with public defenders. Some of them are nice, but some of them are not lacking a lot of training. But I say the key to success is having a good understanding of the landscape of CPS inquiries and child welfare. Now, they are very crucial and very complex. They are serious matters that carry profound implications for the children and families involved. And that's what happens with your dependency cases. Now, you know that CPS will start investigation when they receive the allegations in writing that you're guilty until you're proven innocent. Now, these social workers are supposed to be focused and trained, but I'm afraid that my social worker was not trained or focused. She didn't have a college degree. She had no classes in social work. And she's more interested in her Gucci purse and the bonus she'd receive from the district attorney's office. So she really was Now, during this investigation, they gather information to determine if a child's at risk. If there's sufficient evidence to substantiate allegations of abuse or neglect, they assess the children's safety and needs and the capacity of the parents or guardians to provide a safe and adequate care. They're almost like saying that they're clinical psychiatrists, which are not. Now, they will speak with you and the child in question, and also the siblings and other family members. Their interviews will also be with teachers, neighbors, coaches, medical professionals, or anyone else who might have insights to child's allegations. Now, remember I told you early on that you need to be educated with the Welfare Institution Code. It's 300. Everything's governed by the 300. This legal statute defines various forms of abuse and neglect and sets the framework when the state should intervene in the family situation. Now, if you read that code and you study it, it may help you. Now, these investigations have wide ranging implications. They may lead to support service for the family to address the issues uncovered, or in more severe cases, to juvenile dependency proceedings. In such cases, the court may find remove the child from the home environment necessary to ensure their safety and well being. Well, that seems to be stretched a lot lately. And again, rule number one, you should have an attorney present at any time you're with the CPS workers, including interviews there. So your question, your mind may be is what should you, if I'm facing a juvenile dependency case, what should you do? Well, you're going to need an experienced child abuse lawyer. You know that right off the bat. Now, you deserve to have a juvenile dependency attorney who will fight to get your children back. You need this attorney by your side, supportively. Now, it's really important you look on the internet and you find a flow chart called Juvenile Dependency Flow Chart. It will really help you understand your case and see what steps are taking place, to see what steps are taking place. The way it pretty much works is you have two types of individuals that call in, professional or lay people. The lay people you have a lot of problems with because they're usually not true. Professional people are required by law to report suspected negligence or abuse. And the children are either in custody or not in custody. They're in protective custody, I should say. They're not in custody or they're in protective custody. What happens next is a dependent petition is filed. So the child's not in custody, they may be with a family member. So You need to look at Welfare and Institution Code 300.325, or excuse me, 300,325. And that talks about the petition to file the dependency petition. That's what social worker is going to do. Then there's going to be a detention hearing, and that's Welfare Institution Code 319. And it occurs within 24 hours of the petition is filed. Then you have the jurisdictional hearing. That's Welfare and Institution Code 155. Then you have the deposition hearing, Institution Code 358. So as you go through this chart, you see there's many times that you're in court, and that's why you need that attorney. He needs to know how to blend through it. I don't sympathize with you going through because, as I say, I've spent 14 years investigating, doing all this, and I wish I had this knowledge at the beginning, but no one does. No one comes prepared. You're not born with a handbook about how to deal with children or relationships or anything else. You learn from your mom and dad, your parents, and you learn the behaviors that are going to shape your life. So I know it's really a hard pill to swallow because you're constantly you're constantly being berated by the social worker. You just got to be cold and callous, be professional, be nice. But that's all I'm asking for. So this now comes to the conclusion of my podcast. We have about a minute left. I know it's been slow. There's been several people I want to thank. Happy Feet 7. She said she's going to come back. She's the one with the Indian Child Welfare Act issue. Then there's Sydney, who has supposedly her children adopted, and she wants to know it's too late. And I want her to, be on the show. I want to thank all of you for listening, all of you for trying to help others. You will get your children back. You have to keep at it and keep at it. Don't give up. Do everything they ask you. Just be nice about it. And again, do not talk to them. You don't need to talk to them. They're not your keeper. So it hurts. But I pray for you that it's going to get better and that you will see the light at the tunnel. And I'm on again tonight at 7 p.m. tonight. That's Wednesday night. I'll gladly take your questions or comments. I hope to see you then. God bless you and have a good afternoon.